Ah, new book! Hi, thank you for joining me. For those who aren't aware, I'm an author. I'm a fantasy novelist as well as kind of fursuiter and commentator on things that you're probably too bored to hear about. Yeah, it's an exciting day. I get to open my new books. I just had a big delivery from my publisher, and that's why I'm here. And you're going to see some flesh, unfortunately, because I have to sit over here because my normal spot won't fit all the boxes in that I'm going to open. And I have a very odd, messy setup right now. But that's not really important. Anyway. So, whew. Boxes from publishers. They're not super exciting. But what's inside them is excellent. First eater with a knife. Safety. So this one, if I got it right. Come on. Yeah, I did. Okay, so this is the first book in the series. This is Legacy. Here's the blurb. Her power is unmeasured, her abilities untested, her destiny inescapable. Feria is a resonator, a manipulator of the elements via rare crystals. It is an extraordinary and secret power which she and her father, the Emperor of Zayal, guard with their lives. The Draka, malicious red-scaled dragons, have discovered an ancient artifact, a mysterious relic from the mythical, eons lost city of Nazriel. With their plan already set in motion, they besiege Zayal, pummeling the city to find Faria and rip more of Nazriel's secrets from her. When her father goes missing, Feria has to rely on her own strength to brave the world that attacks her at every turn. Friends and guardians rally by her to help save her father and reveal the mysteries of the ruined city, while the dark legacy of an ancient cataclysm wraps its claws around her fate and her past. She soon realizes that this is not the beginning, nor anywhere near the end. A titanic war spanning thousands of years unfolds around her, one that could yet cost the lives of everyone on Eris. So, if that sounds interesting, here's the book for you. This is number 1. Now, although I've probably always been a furry, these books didn't actually start out as furry. This, as a concept in my head, started as more like a Power Rangers Zoids Trigun kind of adventure on a desert planet through which people with special abilities could summon massive animal mechs from their soul or manifest willpower or something like that. I never developed it past that stage for the main reason that in my head they were all designated by animals anyway, such that the animal factor became more important than anything else, and I just ended up doing that instead. Each creature was initially color-coded, a black wolf, a white fox, a blue shark, I think. And I try to carry some elements of that through to Resonance in the crystals that they use and what kind of powers that they have and stuff like that. And making sure that each character was visually distinct from each other, because I didn't want to have this kind of... I didn't want them all to be of the same species and stuff like that, because I know that can get, Yes, she's a fox, and there are lots of foxes in furry literature and media, but I can't escape my roots. Very, very initially, this was called Nazriel's Search for the Crystal City, as a sort of tribute to the Mysterious Cities of Gold, if you know that series. It's an old French, Japan animated one that I remember airing on BBC when I was very young. And there are a couple of tributes to it, homages to it, through the series, and some other things, some other fandoms that I'm really into as well, or took great inspiration from when I was younger, like Beast Wars, Farscape, Van Helsing, stuff like that. So you can see on the cover you've got 4 characters. This is Feria. This guy, he's cheeky. He's called Tiernan. And he has been by far and away the most liked character out of any of them that I've written. Anyone who's read Legacy pretty much contacts me and says that they like him, and that's a real compliment. Weird thing is, he wasn't always a raccoon either. He started very initially as a raccoon, but as I wrote it, I decided I wanted him to be a greater glider instead. My younger sister sneaky as she is, snuck onto my computer and took the old character description files that I had not updated for a while in order to commission me a Christmas present of concept art for all of these. So when I opened it at Christmas and saw that Tiana was a raccoon, I just fell in love with that image all over again, and he hasn't changed since. So he went back to being a raccoon, and he has these kind of cybernetic arms here, which I won't spoil it. They become useful, but they kind of tie into some of the old character development I had for him as being a greater glider, so hopefully that will be interesting enough for you to see what happens as you read it. Oh, it's going to tip me over. Stop it. Get off me. Why is that one so heavy? Okay. Knife time. Yes, so this is book number 2. This is Fracture. And this came out, I initially self-published Legacy on Amazon Kindle, and I offered it for free over Christmas because that was a promotion that you could do with Kindle self-direct publishing. And over that time, my editor had just got a Kindle, well, who was going to become my editor, at Inspired Quill. She picked it up for free and read it and said, "We really want this." And for a time I was like, I don't know, because I was really worried about what publishers would think of furry writing. She won me over because she loved the characters and she loved the setting and she didn't want me to change any of that, which was very good for me. I really appreciated that. And then she edited it for me, made it a lot better. So anyone who read the very, very first edition, this is actually kind of different. And then 3 years later came Fracture. And you see the different characters on here. They all take place in the same universe, follow the same story, but they have slightly different leads per book. There are only 2 characters that are in all 4 books. And I won't spoil who they are, but once you've read all 3, you can ask me. So Fracture is book number 2, and it takes place after Legacy. And the tagline at the back is, "Confront the past for the sake of the future." I don't know if I should read that first paragraph. That's kind of a spoiler. I'll read the second one. "Unrest between nations is already stirring. A councillor from Andan has been murdered, and only a handful realize that sinister machinations are blackening the root of the whole continent. Questioning his duties, Bayer finds himself escorting Captain Alaris on a mission from which neither may return, although their failure may spark a brutal and catastrophic war. As blades rise, threats both new and old emerge from the darkness and bare their teeth at the world." Isn't that cool? Now, the art styles on these are very similar, but Legacy is by, the cover art in this is by Minna Sundberg, who also has a very cool webcomic and did a wonderful Tree of Life illustration. I'll put links to their art pages and Twitter feeds in the description. Fracture is by Katie Hofgaard, known as Eskyworks, and she's been absolutely amazing. She's done all the covers to all the rest of my books in a pretty mammoth project, which I really appreciate. She's captured, they both captured such a wonderful element of all of them, and I'm just so pleased. Fracture is an interesting one, also started off very differently. It was originally starring this band of musicians, one of whom was going to be a female raccoon who could resonate with the wind. She was going to be unusually tall for a raccoon, super muscular, have an enormous greatsword. The weird thing is, since then, those are characters that I've really come to admire, and I kind of wish I'd found a way to work her back in. I'd still like to find her a place, whether in this story or another story. But so much of it changed to make it fit that a lot of what was pertinent to her arc would have been lost. So a lot of the story elements were rolled over from what happened to them, or the musicians, and transferred into Alaris and Bayer. And both of those 2 are in the first book too. Another funny thing is, when I was plotting Legacy, it was originally at least twice as long. It used to have, well, I talked about the musicians in Fracture, it used to involve all of those in a sort of a crossover story. There were going to be all kinds of adventures before they got to the end, which I had to cut down and probably aren't going to happen. There were lots of little sort of in my head, I almost conceptualized it as a TV series where you have an adventure and then you have some sort of pertinent but not necessarily essential meandering, kind of like filler arcs, I guess. And then they get to the climax at the end. But in order to streamline it down and not have a novel that was 150,000 words, I took out a lot of the stuff that wasn't really essential, that even though I enjoyed, just wasn't really advancing the plot. Ideas aren't really lost, they just get transferred, and they can come into something even bigger as you give them a chance to grow on their own accord, as opposed to trying to mush them into something where they might not quite fit. I do have a lot of ideas that I want to put into other stories, so I'm excited to do that. As you can probably tell, this is not as scripted as my usual videos. And I'm very sorry. My ears. What is going on? Okay. Am I destroying everything? Okay. Now this is what I'm most excited for. If this isn't book 1, and this isn't book 2, then this has to be the latest book, which I've been waiting so long to show everyone. If you follow my Twitter, you've probably already seen the covers be shared, but this is the first time I've been able to see a book in the flesh. Oh, and I'm so excited. Oh, look at that. Look how pretty that is. It's so purple. So this is another Eskyworks cover. If you wanted to start on a book that wasn't the first one, you could also start on this one. Book 2 would be a little bit harder to get into, but this or Legacy, go for it if you don't fancy reading them all at once. Oh, it looks so good. And actually, the cover design, these are just after I got these. The Legacy cover went under a bit of a revision to bring it more in line with the designs for this. So these are probably going to be the last set of the current covers, and there'll just be slight graphical design changes to any new ones. So if it looks a little bit different, if you order it, especially directly from my publisher, and it looks not quite like this, don't worry, it is the same book. Alright, so this is the blurb for Ruin's Dawn. I want to hear everything, Osiris. All that you can tell me. In the desert town of Mare, a young fox is about to discover his power. A single bolt of crystal energy begins Aiden's journey, one that will test him to his furthest limits and deepest loyalties. The Griffin Osiris takes Aiden under his wing, and together they battle shadows and suspicion to bring warring nations to the pinnacle of invention and prosperity, the new city Nazriel. But not every creature strives for a bright and industrious future. Conflict is an unsteady foundation for the burgeoning metropolis. The launch of 1,000 incredible dreams plants the seed for an immeasurable disaster that even Aiden and his friends do not have the power to prevent. This is the story of Nazriel's ascension and the end of the world. So, if you've been paying attention, Legacy talks about the lost city of Nazriel, and this talks about the new city of Nazriel. So this is a prequel. And initially, all the events of this as well were going to be included in Legacy. So you can see the length of the very first book would have included an extra book and a half of stuff. And while it may have been good stuff, the pacing probably would have been terrible. So I'm really glad to have been able to separate it and give each story its own merit here. Oh, it's so good. Ah, new book! Oh, I can't smell it with my first head on, but I'm going to stick my nose in that fairly soon. Yay! Look at them all, aren't they beautiful? Book. Oh, so here's another interesting thing. When I was looking for names of characters, I wanted something kind of Celtic for Feria. So I picked, initially, Lyra. If you read a lot of books, or even if you've just seen some movies or a recent BBC adaptation, you might know His Dark Materials also had a heroine called Lyra. So I was like, okay, I can't do that. So I found other Celtic names, and I picked Farron to begin with. I thought, oh, that's cool. That's got a nice, unique sound to it. Problem was, the more I wrote, the more sort of like screaming and battling there was, the more I realized, especially if in my, my ambitions, my deepest ambitions, if this was going to turn into an anime, I want someone who has an open sound at the end of their name so that it will carry further and be easiest for people to shout. So I changed it to Feria. This caused a really big problem, which I didn't know about at first because I'm from England. Because at the time, I went through a habit of reusing surnames from fan fictions and stuff like that, and I had a lot of characters called Aiden Phoenix. He was in my Digimon fan fiction. Continuing on that trend of not having an awful lot of imagination, I put Phoenix into my book. The problem is, for US Star Fox fans, long-time US Star Fox fans, they're going to notice very quickly that Faria Phoenix is only one letter away from Farah Phoenix, the character who appeared in the Nintendo Power comics that did not come over to the UK, and I could not do that. So, yeah. Phoenix became Furako, which is kind of a bastardization of Viracocha, the supreme god of the Incas, which was another throwback to Mysterious Cities of Gold. I was really obsessed with Incas and Aztecs and Mayan culture and stuff like that when I was young for that reason. So I wanted some kind of tribute to that. Of the three, I feel like Ruin's Dawn is my best work. Obviously, because I've spent years honing the skills. Legacy was first published in 2010. Here we are 10 years later with Ruin's Dawn. That's 10 years of growth. That's 10 years of learning and listening and discovering about myself and the world and writing and markets and stuff like that. The title is something I'm really, really satisfied with. I can't get enough of it. And even though I wanted all of them initially just to have one-word titles, it makes it harder for people to find your book online unless they know your name. If they just know that the book title is called Legacy, there are hundreds and thousands of books that just have Legacy or something of that have better exposure. Fractured too. So Ruin's Dawn is something that is more unique. I hate to brag, but it's good to be pleased about something that you are pleased with. This is not the end of the series. There is one more book, one more full novel like this, and one more short story collection, and also a one-shot alternative universe sci-fi retelling with the same characters. Given that Ruin's Dawn is out this weekend, they're probably not going to be out soon, but I will do my best to get the ball written as quickly as possible, because I just love this world so much. It's been with me for such a long time. I had started writing this in a hotel room when I visited Anime Expo 2006 by myself, my first trip to the United States. Silly me thinking that a very anxious, how old was I, 21-year-old, would be okay going to a foreign country by himself to a convention that he doesn't know, with no costume or anything like that. So it was a very weird experience for someone who... I used to call myself shy. I don't really think that's an appropriate term anymore because it's not the... It was definitely anxiety more than just shyness. But I'm here. I survived. It's all good. And this came out of it. I sat in my hotel room when I realized that I was very, very lonely and didn't have anyone to hang out with or no costumes to feel kind of validated by. So I sat and wrote in my notebook evening after evening and bashed out pretty much the entire story for Legacy and all the stuff that I didn't include in it. And now here we are after even more development and even more changes and even more weird things happening in the world and more self-validation and exposure and knowledge. And I'm actually not denying that I'm a furry now, which is a really big step, because when I first released Legacy, I'm like, no, it's not furry, it's anthrofiction. I should have known. I'm going to be running probably a couple of giveaways for these at some point. Haven't really got the details out yet, and I don't know what the postage system is like right now, but if you want to hear more about the more emotional process towards this, that I went through writing Ruin's Dawn specifically, some of the themes about it. I'm going to try not to give away any spoilers, but if you are interested in finding out more, I'm going to be doing a podcast interview with South Africa on Saturday. This is the 26th of April. And then it'll be archived on YouTube after that. So if you missed this, and then hence you missed that, go subscribe to them because they are amazing, amazing people. I want to give a massive shout out to Minna Sundberg and Katie Hofgaard for the amazing artwork that they did, because even though we say we don't judge a book by its cover, look at them. Aren't they just amazing? You can't help but be drawn to them. So I am really grateful for what they've given me through their work and how this has really lit up the stories in such a big, big, big way. I'm really excited to be able to share them with you wholesale for people who have not got into the series yet, or for people who have been long-time fans. I'm just really excited to show you even more and to keep this world going and hopefully inspire some of you to create your own worlds too. Thank you so much for joining me. It was a bit of a ramble, but it's my ramble in my special place with my special books. I have no way of ending this video. Keep calm and be inspired. Thank you.